cause he is my everything. When I got saved, yeah, I got a mustard seed. Now that's the faith that he placed inside of me. I gotta let it grow and become what it's supposed to be. I get running like Forrest Gump, cause I know I can't walk it out. I'm seeking God's face. Matthew 6 is what I'm talking about. Let the track blaze, let the smoke clear the haters out. I'm trying through the fire, but by grace I have made it out.
Yo, called him my boy Ron. He said don't walk it out.
Keisha, we might need some tissues for this one, but since we don't have any, we're just gonna do old school with our shirts if we have to, right? Gotta go old school.
We're going with it.
Right, we're gonna just roll with it. So, my sister, she did, I don't say sermon, she did a speech, a presentation time, and it was titled The Weight of the Weight.
Yes.
So the WEIGHT of the WAIT. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to roll really good into what we're talking about today. Absolutely. Because today we are doing emotions, decisions, and consequences. This is big, and this is a tough conversation that people don't ever want to start, because generally one of two things are going to have to happen. You're either going to cry it out because it's going to hit so home with you, or it's just going to keep circling around.
Or you're going to hug it out. You're going to repair things.
You're going to hug it out, and this works really well for us because people that know us know you are the emotional part of this partnership. You're a very emotional person. I have a tight rein on my emotions, and I really compartmentalize them to take them out of everything. So,
but you do blow.
I do blow, and
like
when
a volcano.
and it's not pretty either sometimes. And I don't wear mascara, so that doesn't run, and that'd be a good thing because it'd be a fright show for sure. So let's start and go into emotions and decision making. Sure. Let's start there, and then we'll get to the consequences. For me, emotions have zero room in decision making. Would you agree with that statement?
For you, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for me, it's either a hard no or a hard yes. Mm-hmm. Rarely do I sit anywhere in the middle, because I take all emotion out of it and I look at the logistics of what's happening. And I am not comfortable around people that do emotional decision making.
Right. But there's a process to emotional decision making. Unlike your process, what works for me does not work for you.
Exactly.
I'm going to say this. Sometimes if I don't work through the emotion, I cannot even make the decision. Right? Mm-hmm. And there's times when I'm so deep in the emotion that I can't even think or fathom what the decision would be, that I would make the wrong decision.
Yeah, because I know we have had times where you have sent me an opportunity, mm-hmm. and I have been busy with work, and it has taken me some time to get back to you, and I'm like, we need to pray about this decision, and you have sent back, I've already signed up. Mm-hmm. And we can't really say what my response was because we'd have to be censored. And so that's always difficult for me. And I really have to rein in my emotions for when we're face to face, because I'm just like, WT,
give it a break. Yeah.
and insert whatever letter you want after that you do, because I don't do decisions that way.
Mm-hmm. But when I commit to something. And when I know it will be good for us long term, then that's why I commit. But there's also times when I have made a hasty decision and then been like, I'm going to pay for this one, but it's not going to work for us.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to be truthful. Like,
absolutely.
Not every decision made in emotion has worked out.
Right. Absolutely.
And some of them have been detrimental to progress.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to realize. Sometimes acting so rashly in your emotions can really knock you off of your path. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I tell people, just step away for the brain to the mouth.
To your heart.
To your heart. There has to be a disconnect somewhere. And so when your brain processes it, you need to step away for a few minutes and breathe out. And sometimes when you breathe it out, if the opportunity is not for you, the opportunity is out.
It's
and
going away.
it doesn't ever reach your heart because here's the thing. Most people make decisions with their heart,
True.
not their head. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. Because you get all caught up in your emotions, right? And emotions can be fueled. We're fooled, but they can be fueled by trauma responses.
True.
Because sometimes you're put back in a place and you're like, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I did before that didn't work. And this doesn't work either because it's a hasty decision. So, yeah, for me, because I did in my past make an emotional decision that really destroyed a friendship that I knew was supposed to be with me most of my life, that is where it clicked for me. Like, emotions can't sit at the boardroom table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you are, especially, in your personal life, you're going to be the one that pays, right?
Sure.
You're going to pay.
Absolutely
You're going to pay the ultimate price. But when you are in business,
It's a whole different story.
it's a whole different ballgame because now you got to think of like the baseball diamond. There's a whole team on there.
There's no
And you're the
team.
coach, right? You're the coach. And you carry not only the weight of the decision for yourself,
For our
but
team.
you carry it for the whole team. And I have likened it to this. I don't want to be the one that makes the emotional decision
that ruins
that
our team.
knocks off the destiny decision for someone we're carrying, because that is true. You are carrying those people's destinies with you, not saying that their destiny is wrapped in you, but you might be the one that opens the door for one of them to go through, and it's their opportunity. And then, they may get traded away if you liken it to baseball. They may get traded away to where they're supposed to go and really become who they are. You see that a lot in baseball. They're a good player. They go on to play for someone. They're an amazing player. It happens. Sometimes the environment has to change. But when you make those hasty decisions and emotions, then you have to come tell your team. And that is
Where you're at. Yeah.
well, this is what we did. And like they may be stoic while they're talking to you, but the minute they walk out that door, it's a whole different conversation when they walk out the door.
Absolutely.
And they may never get another shot at that destiny.
Again. That is for sure.
So walk through, Keisha, how do you separate yourself from your emotions for the business decisions?
Well, there's a lot of things that is fueled by my heart. I walk in my passion,
Right.
and that is emotional sometimes.
Sure.
Because I'm empathetic. I'm also.
Do you think some of decisions you make because you are an empath could be from overload?
Yes, absolutely.
And you just, I want that burden gone. Out you go.
It's not just gone, but I want to understand it. And sometimes I have to really process through it. Like I'll dissect it and I will be like, okay, is this for me or is this against me?
Because you think sometimes it could be the emotion is not your actual emotion that's involved in the decision. You have just taken on the other emotions in the room that could be fueling yours to a higher level.
Sure.
Is that something
But I think that there's a time, I think that your emotions play a role in that. If it's something you want bad enough or aspire to have or see in your future and you're just not there yet and you really want it, you really, really want it. But it also is a fuel for me.
Yeah.
When I want something, if I don't pay for it, I'm not committed to it. But if I pay for it, I am committed to it. And I honor my word, my commitments. And so that for me can be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
There's things that sometimes, programs that we have bought. I have bought them immediately. Have we used them? No.
Some are still a year in and we still haven't opened it.
Haven't even cracked the box or got in the program, but are they beneficial? Yes. Are they good things to have in our arsenal? Absolutely. some of those things have tripled our income.
Right.
And then there's things that have cost us. So I think it's about what are you willing to invest and what are you willing to sacrifice.
So do you think FOMO, fear of missing out, plays any role in people's decision making?
Absolutely.
When they're, I got to be, we liken it to running with the Joneses, right?
Yes, because a lot of people, and I'm just going to say this because I see it in the financial world,
right,
live without being in their means. And so whether it is a car, a purse, a luxury trip, and they're not even paying their rent on time.
Right.
They're not even paying their light bill, their water bill, or their phone bill.
Right.
But they're going on this big expensive trip because they're not going to miss out.
Right.
But are they sacrificing? They're probably
Or you're
borrowing money
sacrificing something.
They're probably borrowing money from people and not going to pay it back. I'm just saying. I've seen a lot of that. And those are repeat people.
Yeah.
And it comes up in a lot of stories that I dissect of people who've made financial decisions that were bad decisions.
Yeah.
Or they're always like, well, I meant to pay that bill on time, but my electric bill came up and I couldn't be without electric, so I had to pay that bill, which made my credit go down.
Right.
I mean, it's a vicious cycle. I get it. I've seen it. I've been in it.
Yeah.
Scarcity is a thing, and it's for real.
Financial
for a lot
stress
of people,
is a
for
very
a lot of
difficult.
people.
Yeah.
And there's people who will never get out of it because that's all they know. They're small-minded. They're not willing to sacrifice. And that's why I always say out of 100%, the 40-60 rule. It's a principle. It's a principle that works. And there's people who live on a lot less than 40%. Right. But there's a lot of people who live at 200% and not even at 10%.
Right.
So, it's a balancing act. It's a scale. It's all of those things, but it's also priority. And it's what are you bartering for? Because it's a consequence.
Right.
You can have all of those things, but it's a weighted scale, right? I can live within my means.
Right.
And I can do more things.
Yeah.
Or I can have more things and I can be in a lot of debt.
Right.
And that's what that looks like. And
debt is stressful.
Debt is very stressful because they come knocking at the door. They're going to start taking things. Things are going to get turned off.
Take it from your pay and your
right. You're not even going to see
off.
it. Right. You're going to go to have a paycheck and you don't have a paycheck because all of those things have come out of your paycheck and you didn't plan for that.
Right.
Right. So it's a vicious cycle when you're not in balance. And that, I mean, physically, emotionally, mentally.
Right.
Because those three things, and I don't have three hands, but those three things have to all be balanced.
Right. It reminds me of the part in the Bible, Ty, and I'll have to have you look this up because I don't remember the book that it comes out of.
No problem.
But it's about I believe it's 3, where he gave them coins.
3 coins.
And what they did with it and how they buried it and turned it around. One hoarded it.
Yep.
One doubled it. And then you have the other one.
Not like the 3 little pigs.
Right. Not like the 3 little pigs. So if you could look that up, Ty, we'll check back in with you later to see what book of the Bible that come out of. But that's the thing, how you handle the provision that you're given.
Yes. But it comes with great responsibility. And people,
it does.
I think people think, from my experience, just from my experience and the things that I've been doing for a while, and life coaching,
Sure.
Life is lifing sometimes.
Absolutely.
And people have a great perspective on finances. And 2 people can be married and have way different views on finances.
Absolutely. Different yokes.
Yes.
They're yoked differently.
They're yoked differently. Or they're not yoked at all.
Right.
Their finances are so different because one person came from money and the other person came from scarcity.
Absolutely. And it's a different mindset.
It's a different mindset. The responsibility is still the same.
Sure.
The responsibility is to be connected and on the same page. So you're doing it together. So you're building and being effective for your family. So you're having the funds when you need the funds.
Right.
You can't have somebody who is the builder and somebody who's the taker, because
Right.
it never works.
Yeah.
You can't have somebody who is always the saver, the giver, the sacrificer, and this person's always the taker.
Yeah,
Your left and your right hand have to meet together, and you have to pray it out, and you have to be connected
right.
to be successful in decision-making processes for financial decisions.
Yeah, and I think we live in a see it, want it, buy it culture.
Absolutely.
And so people will do anything. So, and here's something a lot of people don't realize. When you spend just to spend, that's a trauma response.
That is a trauma response.
And most people don't see that. You're essentially, it can become an addiction, and you're feeding the addiction. And a lot of
Mindless
times,
shopping,
right?
buying things you don't need,
And you don't
buying
ever use
presents
them.
for other people to buy their affection and love.
Right.
Oh, those are the worst.
Yes.
The worst.
Don't give me a
Mindless
gift when a
scrolling.
sorry would work.
Yes, absolutely. You cannot buy.
Yeah.
You cannot buy my affection.
This is in Hollywood. Don't try to buy me off with a
Yes,
gift, right?
I'm so yes.
Yeah,
That's insulting.
I have two things it brings up for me, because I used to shop as a trauma response, and honestly, it was like, what? I don't even use half of this stuff, and I would end up donating a lot of this stuff. But I always remember, I listened to a sermon one time, and they said, you have the 24-hour wait period. So if I want to buy something, I pray about it for 24 hours first and see if I'm moved within that 24 hours. If I'm not moved in that 24 hours, then I have the 30-day rule. If I still want it at 30 days, because here's the reality. If you want it and you don't get it within a certain time, you just forget about it.
True.
It's like they say when you're craving something specific, when you want to eat it, your mouth only needs the first bite and the craving is filled. We respond because we're hungry, we just keep feeding it.
True.
And you have the same way. So if it's 30 days, I'm still like, this is it, then I'll purchase it. Because it's 21 days make a habit,
That's
30
right.
days becomes a routine,
Yep.
right? So I do that. And I listened to a sermon from Bishop T.D. Jakes, and this really hit me. It is, every yes you give takes away a piece of you.
Yep.
Until you have nothing left to give. You don't even have room for a no.
I know. That's
No room for a no. Do you know also that type of response, the yes response continuously, that's a
People
trauma
pleaser.
response. People pleasing is a trauma response and a destiny killer.
It's a destiny killer.
Destiny killer. We covered this in a previous episode. So when I'm approaching decisions like that, and because, I do everything logical and analytical, I'm weighing everything, I keep those in mind.
But you have an anointed now.
Yeah, especially the yeses, because one, I used to be a people pleaser. And then I carried a heavy load. I was a workaholic. I worked all the time. I still had time to spend with my family and those things, but I would spend those hours with them, and then I would come home and do the projects. Not that the projects had to be done at that time. I was just so conditioned in that way because I overscheduled myself all the time.
But that's people pleasing.
People pleasing. People be like, I need to get on your schedule. I'm like, you're 6 months out. And they're like, what? It's January. And I'm like, sorry, 6 months out. Like, what can I do? And in reality, I needed to not be 6 months out. It's different with your business. Clearly, you want to plan out. But you have to really stop and take note of why you're making these decisions and make sure that they're not being fueled as trauma responses, because 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the right decision.
Right. But I'm gonna circle back to something that we've done in practice in our whole business of our relationship. And that is, I would rather say no and not be committed to something that I can't 100% show up for.
Right.
If I say yes, I'm 100% all in, committed, will not leave you hanging, will show up.
Right.
Because I honor my word and my commitments. So
Yeah.
there's a difference between our yes and a no
Right.
on a scale, but also commitment wise. No, it's not sometimes it's not in my capacity.
Right.
First, I can't even commit to something that's not in my capacity because I keep my schedule pretty tight.
Sure.
And I like to have a little bit of a buffer, but even if I feel like or pressured from my friends to do something and I have to say no, I have to say no. But if something comes up and I get available, I'll circle back and let you know.
Right.
And that's the answer that I give. It's not always a no. It's no today, but I'll circle back with you if my plans change.
And no is the shortest full sentence in the vocabulary.
Yeah, it's not optional. You don't have to explain it.
You don't need anything after it. A no
There's no
is a no.
explanation.
That's why you always hear let your no be a no and your yes be a yes.
Yes, I agree.
And your yes you have to make space for. A no is no space required.
No space required.
It's a no, and it's a no for me.
Hard no.
Yeah, it's a hard no, and sometimes you get the no from God, but it might be a not now. Because either you have not grown into who you need to be to do that, or you have not met who God is bringing into your life to be able to do that.
True. But sometimes it's a no to grow.
Right. It's a no to grow. And I know.
Or go.
Right. Sometimes he's like, I just need you. I need you to be the one to put your hand up and says, send me and I'm going to send you to do it because I need you to go. But I think a lot of times we can be like, I always love using the story of Elijah in the Bible. One of the most powerful prophets. One of those powerful prophets in the story was Elijah, right? So he is, they're having the battle of Baal and he's just like, yeah, do your thing. You're not going to win at all because I'm going to bring fire down from heaven and I'm going to win this battle, right? He had that confidence. He was so confident because he could. And so he wins that battle, right?
Absolutely.
And then you have a word from a woman who says, well, you're out. I'm going to take care of you tomorrow. You won't be here anymore. And what does he do? Boom, off to the races. He's running, right? Like, dude, you just did the most powerful display of something. And because someone said something, you took off running. But here's what I liken it to. He was spiritually empty. He was spent, right? And when you're spiritually empty,
you don't make good decisions.
It's not a good time to make decisions.
That's right.
And
you need to get some rest. He
was living proof of that, right? So he takes off see you, bye. I'm going to chase down Usain Bolt and win this race, right? And so he goes and what happens? He gets to a place and he tells God, bring me home.
Right.
Okay, so we all know what he's saying. Yes, it's in the Bible. And this is me saying this. This is not scripture verbatim.
Right.
And God is like, you're a little tired. You're a little hungry. I'm going to need you to take a nap.
Yep.
And then I'm going to need you to eat. Then I'm going to need you to go listen. And that's the part that we forget about, the whole listen.
But listening is for understanding.
Right. But when we're listening for God to speak to us, we think of this big, monumental, almost like a boombox up in the sky that you're just going to hear it. And sometimes, and in this it was the whisper in the wind.
It's the whisper in the wind.
That went by. Because you need to focus and have that alone time to be able to spend to hear God talking to you.
Absolutely.
And we are so busy in this day and age that we have to, God has become a schedule marker. Oh, I got to spend some time with God. It's not
a choice.
It's right. You got to build the relationship, not make it, oh, I'm obligated. I got to put my half hour in here. Hooray, I can check that mark off. Well, you're going to have some other conversations with God because I have had to have these conversations and it doesn't work. And so then you have the weight when he puts you in a waiting season, I know, at least for me, that has been the heaviest weight I've ever had to carry because I battle my own selfish wants, which I will turn into needs. And then I will hear something in my mind and tell myself, I know it's God speaking. In reality, it's just my need, or not my need, my want that I have turned into a need because I can tell myself that. And now I'm sending my own validation down. So, and you have to have people in your life that can check you at this point. Be like, what are you doing? Why are you even spending time there? And that weight can be so overbearing. Ty, how we doing on that scripture? Have we found it yet?
Yes, I think we did.
Okay.
It says the Bible verse about the three servants bearing money is from the parables of the talents, found in Matthew 25:14-30.
Great book of the Bible, Matthew.
Yeah. It describes a master who gives three servants varying amounts of money, talents, before he leaves on a trip. While the first two servants invest the money and double it, the third servant buries his 1 talent in the ground out of fear and does nothing with it. So basically, as you go down and read more about it, it says the key verse describing the burial is Matthew 25:18. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the earth, and hid his master's money. The outcome, when the master returns, he praises the 2 servants who doubled his investment and punishes the third for his inactions. Meaning, the parable teaches that people are expected to use and multiply the gifts and abilities God has given them, not hide nor neglect them out of fear.
Fear, and I think selfishness plays a part in that.
Absolutely. But you have to be able to be not everybody's a multiplier.
Right.
That's the conversation.
True. Well, and also we have this in fear. Like we have a fear of people taking what we're doing and copying us and doing something with it. In reality, you're never meant not to share your gift while you're here.
Absolutely.
You're never meant to take all that stuff with you. It doesn't bury with you. You don't multiply the kingdom and by not equipping people. You're not meant to hoard your skill while you're here. That's why we always say, especially in the book world, it can be cutthroat. You know, people don't want people to outproduce them. All people can. But I feel like in the author world, it's just on a whole nother level. Because everybody goes in, I want to be a bestseller.
True. It's a mindset.
I can't tell you how many times we hear this in our conversations. And my response is always, you don't need to be a bestseller to be seen. My first book that I wrote, Letters to My Father, was not a bestseller anywhere. And it has done amazing things. It has opened doors. We've got to meet people. You know, it's been written for television. It's not a bestseller. That is an ingrained, conditioned response that we have been taught in that world, that to be successful in the world, you have to have a bestseller. To be successful in the kingdom, you need to use the book like God told you to do it. You know,
it will open so many doors. It will take you places you've never been before. It will. Your testimony will change people's lives.
I mean, when you say, people are like,
hallelujah and amen to that. Hallelujah and amen.
It's been a conversation starter. And the conversation is usually just about, I wrote the book. And then they're like, well, what else have you done with it? That's your first clue that people are looking to see how you are using your book.
It's leverage.
You can leverage that out to get you at least conversations and then just let God do it. You know, I had a spiritual counselor one time, Keisha, and my life verse is Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world, right? And he said, have you read a little further into that verse? And Ty, I want you to look this up to get the exact verbiage.
Yes.
Where he's talking about baskets.
Matthew 5:14.
Yeah.
Matthew 5:14.
I think it's like 5:16 maybe. Where he said, and I said, what are you talking about? he's like, have you read that passage so fast? I'm like, baskets? What in the world are you talking about? And so he's like, we're going to read the scripture together. You're in a counseling session, right?
Right.
And I'm telling you, you want to know what issues are going on with you? Get yourself a spiritual counselor.
That's for sure.
And we're there just talking about your walk. Yeah. And so he said, and this is really when my mind started to click on thing. He said, all the stuff you do that God is not involved in, that's your basket. Mm-hmm. That's why the weight on your back is so heavy, because you're putting things in the basket that were never ever meant to be there.
Right.
You're not meant to do all of those things. And until you realize what you're doing and filling your basket with, you will never be truthful to yourself. Mm-hmm. And that really stuck with me, because I had to think, like, yeah, we do use baskets to fill things up with.
Sure.
And am I doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing? No. And so out of that, I talked with him. And one thing he said about my book, he's like, I wish you would stop seeing your book as the door. I was like, well, what do you mean by that? He said, the book is the doorknob that God is going to turn to open the door. When you think of a door, it's a hard stop and a hard enter, right? But when you think of a doorknob, it's open to opportunity. So I really had to do a mindset shift in all of that. And so I really started to evaluating my stuff by when I'm agreeing to things. How does this align with my purpose? Mm-hmm. What will God say about what I'm going to be doing? And if it doesn't align with my purpose, how much of my purpose am I going to have to sacrifice to do something that I want to do? And I know it's not the right decision. And I liken this back to we talked before, where I had a chance to go on a collegiate speaking tour.
Absolutely.
I was all in. By the 5th call, I was ready to mortgage everything I could mortgage to go on here, right? I'm just like, I'm in it to win it. And then I called you, and it was a hard no for you.
Yeah.
I called my other best friend, Megan. She's like, yeah, it's a no. It is a no.
It was a hard no.
It was a hard, they're like.
You were devastated.
I didn't even finish about the conversation, and they're like, it's a hard no. And then I went to my sister, and she's like, it's a no. Mm-hmm. And everybody had a different reason for the no. Mm-hmm. Carrie was like, that doesn't even align with what God is saying you're doing in this season. And Megan was about, okay, well, they want you now, but the timing's not right. Mm-hmm. And it was about how much I would have to sacrifice of the business we were doing in personal. And for Megan, it was, so with that, you have to make a 12-month commitment.
You do. And
a 12-month commitment. And that season, there was no room for any kind of that longevity in the commitment. And I was devastated because that was something I wanted.
It hurts for all of us when you don't want to live your dream.
Right. And finally, I had to
But being honest was the most important thing.
It was.
And making sure that, first of all, your health.
Right. Yeah.
Was the first choice and decision.
Yeah.
I knew you didn't have the longevity for that. There's a lot of factors in that, but it's hard to say no to people that you want something for.
It's absolutely hard, especially when you have tied so much into that, believing that that is part of your dream
and your destiny.
Right. And then we get a year later, and I'm sitting having a conversation with you where the opportunities are there. And now I'm the one saying no.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't the right time.
There's that growth in that. Like, no, like I know that I'm in a season where I have my hands in a lot of things, and I cannot let my ego come out to play. And if you really look at the decision, it was a fantastic opportunity.
Right.
And what I was going to speak about had not been done on the tour at all. It had not been done. They were very excited for that. But there was also my ego fueling that, because I was in a season where God was breaking that ego. Mm-hmm. And so he made it, every avenue shut down. It was like, you got nothing to mortgage, baby, because I'm not going to give you that kind of access.
Yeah.
And you're not doing that. And had I done that, we wouldn't even be sitting here doing this.
Right. The provision wouldn't have changed everything.
Exactly.
But here's the glory in that. And that's what I really see. Because if you're not getting no's, your dreams are not happening.
You're not dreaming big enough.
You're not dreaming big enough. For many years, and we've had on our vision boards, travel, conferences, speaking, podcasts, TED Talks, more books,
all kinds of things.
International travel, all of those things. All of those things. And we've done all of them.
Exactly.
Are there things we'd like to focus on more? Sure. Some more than others. We're definitely doing more books.
Yeah.
We now have our podcast, which is fantastic. This is a new season for us, a new growth and all of those opportunities. But the decision making could have cost us some really bad consequences.
Exactly. I would not have been able to fulfill what we're working on now because it would just be finishing up.
Right.
And you have to recognize the growth. Right. And even though I don't like the word accountability, I had to hold myself accountable. And if anyone's wondering, it was a no from God as well. Mm-hmm. It was a no. I mean, it was a straight up no. It was a no. No matter how many times I prayed or begged or lamented or asked in a different way. Because, we do that. Well, I'm going to ask him in a different way and see if I get a different answer. And you get the same answer and you're like, okay, he caught on to my pattern right there, But it was a straight up no from him. And I had to recognize, if it's a no, he has something better.
Absolutely, yes. Even though it hurts.
Right. Even though it hurts. And now I'm into the part where my dream doesn't actually involve that anymore. It would be a benefit to do that because I do love speaking and especially about what I was going to be speaking about. That is still reserved but now it's moved into an opportunity.
Sure.
If that opportunity presented itself and the okay come down from God and everything worked out, then I would go ahead and do it. And
that would be alignment.
It would be alignment. And, the consequence of your decisions is a very hard place to sit, and it can kill your purpose and your destiny.
Absolutely.
Because you got to sit in that. And a lot of times we're like, why did God do this to me? Well, God didn't do it. It's a consequence of the decision you made. I've had people tell me that. I'm like, I can't believe God did this to me. And they're like, God didn't do nothing. That's all you.
That's
the consequence of what you did that he told you not to do, and you still did it.
Yep.
That's the consequences of your ego. You edged God out, and now you have to pay the price.
Agreed.
Wouldn't you agree? Ty, do we have that Bible reference for the baskets?
Yes, we do. Okay, so it says in here, I'll read the whole thing real quick. Matthew 5:16, in conjunction with verses 14 through 15, he uses the metaphor of a lamp being placed in a lampstand instead of under a basket to encourage believers to let their light shine through good works so that others will glorify God. The basket represents what hides a person's spiritual light, such as fear, pride, or baskets like anger or selfishness, and is meant to be rejected so that good deeds become visible and be bringing glory to God.
So if you caught that, emotions
Emotions
were in the basket.
Yes.
Right? Emotions were in the basket. Fear. And what happens is, even when you overschedule yourself, which are driven by emotions, and a lot of time it's FOMO, you are putting yourself in a dark place, and the light is no longer coming through. And now you're struggling. You are struggling, and you are like screaming for a spiritual lifeline. So I think that's true. Would you agree with that, Keisha?
I agree.
Yeah. So listen, emotions, take a little breather.
Take a nap.
Take a nap. We see it in the Bible. And in case you're wondering, it worked out good for Elijah. Because after he got fed, after he took a little nappy poo, God's like, now go do your thing. And off he went chasing after Usain Bolt again. He really didn't chase after him, but that guy was the world's fastest man. Usain Bolt was, right? Until
we met Justin, who beat Usain Bolt.
Right. Justin Justin Gatlin
who
beat Usain Bolt.
Orlando.
And he, very nice guy.
From Pensacola.
Very, very good.
Yes, I have his book. I read it.
We'll have to change that too. Elijah was running after Justin now.
That's right.
When he was going.
Has Justin beat Usain?
Yeah. And here's the thing. Everything we experience in our times today has all been seen in the Bible before.
Absolutely.
It's all been there. It's nothing.
Repetitive.
It's nothing new. We're not facing anything that God doesn't already know about, right? But a lot of times we lean on our own understanding, which is the exact opposite of what the Bible tells you to do. It says lean not on your own understanding,
It's true.
right? Because we understand what we want being the key word. God understands what we need to propel us onto the next part.
Agreed.
Yeah, so you got to stay in your purpose. And I think, Keisha, we both agree that if you even have an inkling of what God says your purpose is, the purpose fuels your passion,
Absolutely.
and the passion will fuel the decision making that you do, all surrounded into your purpose.
Led by God.
Right. And then here's the funny thing that happens. You start to get blinders on. You don't care about what's going on out there, right? You don't care about the drama. Your emotions start to line because here's the
You
thing.
no longer have FOMO.
Right. You don't have FOMO. You break yourself of FOMO, right?
Yeah.
You break it, and FOMO needs to be broken because you don't need any of that stuff in your
Well,
life.
it's competitive too.
It's competitive, and competition has no place
I have
in decision
no
making.
need to compete with anyone. I am a collaborator. I am a connector. And I know that if I connect with the right people,
Sure.
they will far exceed me to the front of the line.
And we're going to talk about that in another episode
Sure.
of collaborating and why the importance of that is. So listen, you don't need to compete with anyone except yourself. And in that, I mean, you compete with yourself to push yourself to the higher level and
Agreed.
break the chains of what's holding you back. So fear has no place. Right here, look at this set of headphones, this
Faith over
case,
fear.
right? Faith over fear. You need the faith of a mustard seed for God to move in your life.
have that right there.
Right there. That's on the coffee sleeve. Faith of a mustard seed. A mustard seed is like, I can't even get my
tiny.
hand to get as small as what it is. God only needs a teeny tiny little bit from you. And he can change your life. We've seen it. We're living proof of it. We're going to let you in on some of that stuff and how we do that. But I think this, Keisha, is a big thing for people. Hopefully they see a whole new side to emotional decision making because
I agree.
we killed parts of our destiny that we're never going to get back because we made emotional decisions and we knew it instantly.
It's perspective.
We made one
You have
and
to sit in reflection.
we hit the button. And right after we hit the button, we knew it. Our spirit pretty much come up and slapped us in the face and was like, wrong move there. And now what happens? You find yourself back out in the desert again and you're walking around until you can come around. But here's the thing. God can redeem everything. He can redeem every decision you've done and turn that around. And that's the great part of people's stories. So listen, we want to hear from you in the comments. What emotional decision did you make? And you don't have to go into a lot of detail, but how did it derail you? And how do you feel now about emotional decision making and the consequences? Was the consequence heavy or light? And how do you handle the weight in the weight? So
of the decision.
of the decisions. Remember, it's the WEIGHT and the WAIT. Let us know in the comments and don't wait, WAIT, to hit the subscribe button because we want you to hear from us in our episodes that we do in the future. So until we see you next time, stay uncharted. See you.
Peace.
Hey, this is Keisha. In today's episode, we talked about our trauma experience, our faith walk, and our purpose. It's important that you leave your comments because we'd love to know about it. We'd also like for you to subscribe, like, share, and tag. See you next time.
Hi, this is Chrissy. Thanks so much for watching our episode today. Be sure to stay tuned for our featured song. Can't wait to see you next week.
"12 long years of broken places, 12 long years of silent pain. I pressed through the crowd that day, hoping you could make me whole again. No strength left beside me. The faith was burning in